Hi, we're Mel and Missy, respectfully a clinical mental health therapist and fear fighter life coach. But it goes beyond that. We are representatives of you.
Trashed It is a brand that helps women focus on their next level of freedom by getting rid of the emotional garbage in their lives, whether it's toxic relationships, thought patterns, stigmas, etc.
We represent mothers and single mothers, daughters, wives, and divorcees, business professionals, entrepreneurs, and even Christians and ministers of the gospel.
We're trashing it all.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Trashed It. I'm your girl Mel,
Hey, and I'm Missy.
and we are here wrapping up all things women's History Month. And we decided to end this month in a very special way, which we're going to get to here in just a minute. In the meantime, Missy, how are you?
I am here. How are you doing?
I think we both feel the same. I feel like I think I have bags under my eyes, and yeah, I've got the bags, girl. I've got the bags, and if anyone out there has any secrets to getting rid of the bags and the dark spots, like just a quick hack, please let me know because I think this like 40 and older stage has my entire body changing. So yeah, but I think the good thing about it though is I had no problems getting on here with no face, like no beat of the face, none of that. It's like, you know what? Let me put my little head wrap on and my one of my favorite hoodies. Because if you know me, you know I love a good hoodie.
Yes,
And
I don't like hoodies.
yeah,
I hate them.
I know you prefer the crew neck. Um, but yeah, I think we're both feeling kind of like we're just kind of here. So how and so you are here, I am here. Do we have anything that we don't have an opinion about? We're just saying,
Mm, I think we don't have an opinion, but we're just saying ready for March to be over with, which
girl,
brings us to the reason why.
yes, yes, I absolutely agree. Oh, I do have one though. So I've been watching this show.
Uh huh.
And oh my God, I got hooked to it. The show is called, um, oh my gosh, what's the name of it? It's a show it's a reality show out of South Africa.
Don't like it. Ah,
Really?
girl. Yes.
I loved it.
OMG.
Young, rich, and
Famous.
yes. No, I think it's young. I think it's young, black, and famous. Or
Mm-mm.
what is it?
Young, rich, and famous. I think something like that. I watched the first 20 minutes of it. I'm like, garbage.
Really? What made you think garbage?
I just got on my nerve. I think they were doing too much. I'm gonna tell you who I thought it was. Is just doing too much.
Uh-huh.
Was the chick that has the child by like the older man. Like she was just all over the place with her story, and it was not captivating to me. It did not bring me in, and it took me out. And I'm like, no.
Which young African and famous? Young African and
Oh,
famous.
okay. What is a young, rich, and famous?
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's young African and famous. So which character are you talking about? Zari or
And I apologize. I don't know the names
Kangi?
because, huh?
Okay, so there's one who she had the two kids um with one of the, with a an artist
Yeah.
Diamond. So
Mm-hmm.
I watched the entire season, so I know all the characters. And then there was Kanye. She was the one that had a 15-year-old daughter. She was more of like the narrator of the show.
Again, I got part when the young girl that talked about being the gold, people labeled her as a
The
gold
gold digger.
digger.
Okay, yes, that's
Yeah,
Kanye.
I could
So
not. Yeah, she got on my nerves.
okay, so I will say I the same thing because we had this conversation
Hmm.
regarding all the queen's men, right?
All the who?
All the queen's men.
Oh
You
yeah,
remember we
yeah,
had this
yeah.
conversation about that.
Uh-huh.
I think Young African and Famous is the same. Once you got past though the first maybe 15-20 minutes of that episode,
Uh-huh.
you then start to see the foundation of the show, because what you
Okay.
saw at the very beginning is not the context of the show, right?
Okay.
And so I really enjoyed the show, not so much with the drama and all of those things. And the reality was there really wasn't a lot of just deep seated drama.
Mhm.
But what I really, really enjoyed was learning more about the culture, learning more
Okay.
about African culture, and how, over here, it really shed light on the fact that as African Americans, we just see African American, right? Like we're African American, we are black. We consider ourselves to be black Americans, whatever. There there are all these different dialects and these different tribes and heritages, and so you don't hear them just refer to themselves as African. No, it's I'm from Zimbabwe.
Mhm.
I am I'm of the Zulu tribe,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So like you never heard them refer to themselves as just like this one entity, but everyone very much in this very prideful, but not in like a haughty way,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but in a wherever I am, I bring my part of Africa with me, and
You
my
know what?
part of Africa is like we do this and we speak this way,
Uh-huh.
and that was a lot of what the show showed. And I just remember thinking like, man, we are trash over here,
Mhm.
you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, but don't really have an opinion. I'm just saying I really truly enjoyed the show
Okay.
Young
How many
African,
episodes?
um, Young African and Famous. It was, I want to say maybe 7 episodes,
Mhm.
and it was so cool because even in the drama,
And you
one
watched it all?
I watched the whole
Really? And
season.
that's normally not like you to
It's
binge
not.
watch one show.
I didn't even think I would watch it because I had skipped over it several times. And honestly, one night I think I was waiting on my husband seriously to come back upstairs. He had a business call, and in between waiting on him to just keep myself from falling asleep, I said,
Mhm.
let me check it out, see what it's about. And girl got hooked. Because
Really?
yes, because I mean the culture, the
Uh-huh.
city. Oh my God, Johannesburg is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then to just see what we consider wealth, and
Mhm.
girl, their view of wealth is completely
Different from
different.
ours.
And
Mhm.
then the way they view friendship and community and family, that was the premise of their interactions.
Mhm.
You could see how character
Mhm.
came into play.
Mhm.
So, don't really have an opinion, just saying I know it was a reality show,
Uh-huh.
but I absolutely enjoyed the context of the show.
Okay. I might watch it one day on a snow day in December.
Oh God, you said it on the snow.
Well, no, I can't say December because it snowed today up north. So hey, and it's March, so it might be next week.
That's terrible. That's terrible. So, okay, I know we were a bit long winded with that. However, so Missy, what are we trashing? What are we setting off today?
We are trashing the fact of this craze of March Madness. No, we're not talking March Madness of UK versus versus Alabama or IU versus Notre Dame, right? Which of course
Mm-hmm.
they were totally two different divisions, totally just wouldn't go together. but we're trashing all things of March Madness just when it comes to life. And I know that's just a basic broad word to use,
Right.
but I think in this season, because you just, excuse me, season, I keep saying season, in this episode, because you stated right in the beginning of your opening that we're just doing something different. And I think we can't, we cannot come to our followers, our subscribers, our listeners, and talk about something that A, that we're not familiar with, and B, that we're not doing, and C, that it hasn't happened to us.
Right.
So March has been madness for you and I.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Excuse
So, I want to kind of backtrack just a little with with what you just said about March Madness and with basketball, um, because I do think that even when we look at it in the context of basketball, right, March brings about this sense of madness, right, like this craze when it comes to
me.
all things basketball, and so even when you look up kind of where March Madness came from,
Mm-hmm.
the crazy thing is it didn't even originate from basketball.
Oh wow.
It didn't even originate from basketball. Um, it originated long before then. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the definitions that is kind of out there about what March Madness means is that it's a madness that creates excitement,
Okay.
and that even though sometimes we refer to madness as anger,
Mm-hmm.
that another definition is it's marked by this intense and unpredictable activity,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so even I think when we were looking at just the show topic, we kept getting tripped up on madness, right? Like how can madness be this good thing? How can it not be this negative?
Mm-hmm.
And even when we look at basketball, it's a madness, it's a crazy to it,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
it's producing excitement. It's producing like this unpredictable activity, and it's not based on anything bad,
Absolutely.
and I think even when we look at ourselves, right, when we came into I think when we came into the year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right, and I'm going to kind of keep paralleling this even with basketball, right? When we came into the year, we were excited. We're excited, um, as anyone is usually when they go into a new year. You're going into a new year, new phase, new chapters. It's filled with excitement. It's filled with anxiety. It's
Mm-hmm.
filled with questions, but there's also this intense anticipation. I think, especially after COVID, not even after COVID, but in this part of COVID, of like, this is the year. Like, this is it. This is the year, right? And we got into the year excited,
Mm-hmm.
moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, and we get to like February, March ish, and that term, the intense and unpredictable activity,
Mm-hmm.
is what really started to
Us.
happen
Mm-hmm.
in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Um, and I think that's what we are really talking about, right? That like madness is not necessarily a bad thing,
Exactly.
uh, but it is something you have to identify.
Mm-hmm. I think we identified that maybe 6 weeks into the year. And that was, like you stated, that was February.
Hmm.
And everything, all things life. And when I say life, of course, I know it's a general word, but all things work, all things relationships between you and I, all things
Hmm.
business on the outside of trashed it.
Right.
All things family, all things money, all things everything. You know, it
Hmm.
just, it like exit left, it pivot just a tad bit.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's funny that you say, how the anticipation, the excitement, okay, it's a new year. This is what we're going to do with trash it. Boom, boom, boom. Like it was all
Mhm.
gas and no brakes.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
we had to break
Mhm.
in order to come back and to have this conversation. Because I think even segueing up until today, excuse me, of this conversation, of course, everyone knows that we record. And even like today, I woke up not feeling my best.
Mhm.
And normally, and I will say I'm proud of myself in this, because normally I would just like, nope, because you asked, well, do you want to court? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. We'll
Mhm.
push through.
Mhm.
But I'm also applying pressure to myself. Now I'm
Right.
not pushing through of the fact, well, well, we're going to record, and I'm going to go do this and go do that. No, we're going to record because this is our job,
Right.
our
Right.
business. And so sometimes, there's times I've had to go to work sick, put a mask on, or pre-COVID,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
popping some pills, some
Mhm.
pause cough drops, whatever the case may be. Send out a text, hey, not feeling well. I don't have a fever. Don't come near me, but just give me your precaution. But I'm here anyway. Because, I mean, it's two of us and we're team makes the dream work.
Right.
And so it's that applying the pressure, but I think also identifying when you need to maybe take the brakes off and just kind of let the pressure just kind of simmer. Because like you stated, that March Madness can be, I think it can be good and it can be bad. It can explode
Mhm.
or it can be a simmer point. And I think even, prior to us meeting, we were just talking about March Madness. I'm like, man, just think of the pressure that some of these coaches have,
Right.
especially, whether it's a big school or Cinderella school. I mean, a lot of times their job depends on that last buzzer
Yeah.
shot,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the teams, especially the ones that are seniors graduating, you've got March Madness. So you have March Madness, you have finals, you still got to keep up with your schoolwork
Right.
of a pandemic. Scouts are everywhere. You don't know where you're going to be after you graduate. Oh my goodness, where am I going to go? Am I going to play, go to the NBA, or am I going to go overseas, or am I going to go ahead and hit the corporate world and work? Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Do I have a place to go? Do I need to go back home to mom and dad's? Do I have student loan? So with so much pressure in
Mhm.
madness and in
Yeah.
March, and I see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Honestly, it couldn't have happened at a better time.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were talking, I kept hearing the words pivot,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And knowing how to pivot even in the madness,
Absolutely.
even in good
Mm-hmm.
madness, anything that's producing an unpredictable activity that's giving these intense feelings and the angst of something new that's on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
That pressure,
Yeah.
it causes us to have to pivot,
Mm-hmm.
because the pivot is what's going to the pivot is what's going to determine whether or not it's good or bad, right?
Your new
Like,
position.
yeah, like being able to pivot, change positions
Mm-hmm.
according to what that pressure is producing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, because we can either fold under the pressure,
Yeah.
or we can allow the pressure to really build us in a way, in our case, that sets us up for positive, right? For even more forward momentum
Ab-
in the next quarter.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's so true. And yeah, I think this was that one of the vulnerability, being transparent
Mhm.
in all things. Like, again, I keep using that word life, which is broad, but it encompasses so much. And especially as women, I mean, we're still in the month of March, all things women. We've been celebrating women near and far, local women in our family, celebrating ourselves.
Mhm.
And now we're kind of at that point, okay, whew, I think I'm all gassed out. Like, oh goodness, it's the end of the month now. I'm ready for Q2 to come. And so
Right.
I think this is that time of regrouping, redirecting, to resurface.
Mhm.
Not that you're going to go away, you're just taking that time, to do what you need to do, if that makes any sense. And I
Right.
don't, and I, you know what? And I don't even know if it's an age thing too. Like
You
if you
think?
realize it. Mm-hmm.
Explain.
Mhm. I don't know. So of course, I know you and I were. I'm more middle aged than you.
Mhm.
Um, so I think just the season that I am in my life, like I've done all things life prior to being 50, right? I've done all things hanging out in the club. I've done all things, drinking and partying and having a good time and
Mhm.
traveling, which I still love to do and still want to do. But
Mhm.
now it's a different type of travel. It's just me. Like it's
Mhm.
all things Melissa or Missy at this
Yeah.
particular time in my life.
Yeah.
But realizing now, paying attention um to the pivot points that are starting to take place in my season, in
Mhm.
my life, and not being so consumed with it, if that makes sense.
Get, okay, go into that. So when you say
And just
consumed
just
by it.
focusing on the process of it and not the results. Like the results are going to come. And so I'm at a season in my life where I'm focusing on the process. Like this was a process today to to get up and not feel well, but no, I had to push through. Again, not pushing myself to the point of no return, like right to the
Mhm.
edge where we just got to go all in and no breaks. No, it's a job. We already had this schedule, right?
Mhm.
I
Right.
didn't think that I would wake up not feeling my best. And I'm like, oh, and then having internet issues this morning, there was an outage, and you're like, really? Oh, good.
Mhm.
So again, it was life. I wasn't expecting to wake up feeling ill or not
Mhm.
my best. And I wasn't expecting for my internet provider to have an outage.
Mhm.
But guess what? I had to push through.
So I want to go back to what you said about basically not being overtaken by the entire process, but really
Hmm.
just looking at the steps,
Hmm.
right? So do you think there are times when we are so caught up in the intensity
Hmm.
of whatever madness is going on in our lives
Hmm.
that we can't take a step, right? Like we can't take a step, we can't take a step
Hmm.
back, we can't
Hmm.
really just we can't really break it down to just say, okay, I know there's all of this chaos going on,
Hmm.
but let me just concentrate on this one thing. Let me concentrate
Hmm.
on just like this step right here.
Hmm.
Do you think sometimes like we miss that?
We do. I think it goes back to just, excuse me, I'm sorry. I think it goes back to what's now important to us.
Mhm.
We can always say that Rome was not built in a day. Like that is cute, but what does it really mean? Like I'm no longer doing cute cliches anymore. I have to do what works best for me, and that's trust the process, not the results.
Oh, I like that. Trust the
Like if that's an
process.
affirmation for me, instead of waking up and saying I am enough, I am valuable, I am worth, I am worth um whatever it is, the gift or talents that I have. Like no, I have to trust the process and
Mhm.
not the results.
Especially in seasons of change, in seasons of like
Yes,
this
because we
this
don't know.
madness, right?
It goes back to that blueprint
Yeah.
of even when you and I were talking about Trashed It, when it
Mhm.
came about. Like the concept of Trashed It will be celebrating a year, and that was just the concept of a conversation.
Right.
But look how long after all of the long, the meetings that we had, the
Mhm.
paper that we use, the text messages, the notes that we send, the Google Docs that we had,
Mhm.
what it is now is not what it looked like then.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think even with the anticipation of Q1, of course, quarter one of 2022, of what we thought it was going to look like, because we started off heavy, but this is what I do like, and I think because you and I both believe in setting the atmosphere with our words,
Mhm.
but we started off strong.
Yeah.
And I think if we didn't, and it's just me, and I'm a firm believer in this. I think if we did not start off strong, we would not have been showing up on a consistent basis because of what happened in life for us. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying nothing bad
Yeah.
happened. It was
Cuz
just
it's been
that work
all
life
good stuff.
balance,
Yeah, it's
that madness part.
right. And here's the thing. I think so much of the good great
Mhm.
things that have been going on, you know, are not even public things, right? You
Mhm.
know, a lot of things for both of us individually are just like private, and not necessarily private,
Mhm.
but it's not like, ooh, see this, or ooh, see
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
there are all of these pivots, all of these changes. And I'm thinking back to this time last year, right? Ain't that
Yep.
crazy? It was
Uh-huh.
about this
Girl,
time
we
last
will be on
year.
the end. We were on Zoom like every Saturday, I think.
Yes, but think about it. Even in that process, I think that also produced this level of madness because there was this excitement, right?
Yep.
But I think I know there were times for me, um, and even now, if we're really honest, I think with us, with anybody that is experiencing the pressure,
Mhm.
the pressure of change, the
Mhm.
pressure of needing to pivot, there are moments that the enormity
Mhm.
of just all the things you see, and the vision of
You,
where you see things going, it
mhm.
can be overwhelming.
Mhm.
You know, I think that even to, you know, setting goals. And I'm even thinking of our goal chasers. And y'all
Mhm.
see, like y'all don't even really know about our goal chasers sister circle yet. Like y'all don't even really know, right?
Mhm.
But I think even about our goal chasers, sister circle of accountability, and just kind of all the things,
Mhm.
um, there can still be this sense of, oh my God, the overarching goal is so big, it is so enormous that it can overtake us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it just, you know, and it can just kind of cause you to just sit back, right?
Mhm.
Because think
But I
about
think
it,
we
there were times,
identified it.
yeah, but think about it. There were times this time last year that I was like, Missy, like I get it. And um did we really consider, like, do you know where this is going to be in the future?
Mhm.
And
And what did I say? Girl, it's gonna be okay. Don't even worry
you
about it.
did. And I was like, listen, I had one foot off the cliff
Uh.
because I was overwhelmed by the thought of not even what it is right now, right?
Mhm.
Like even though it's in seed form in this moment,
Mhm.
my view was on the fully bloomed
The result of it.
whole. Yes, the result. And I was so overwhelmed by the result that I kind of wanted to just be like, oh well, pump the brakes altogether.
You did. There was
I,
one point where you did, and I'm like, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta do it, we gotta do it. And I'm glad that you made yourself vulnerable to that. Of like, hey, Missy, I don't know. And I'm like, girl, Mel, ain't nobody worried about that but you. We're gonna be fine.
right, right.
And I think again, it goes back to the season of life that I'm in versus the season of life that you're in. And I think
Mhm.
it's the life part of, you know, you're and I you and I we joke about it. I joke more about it than you, but I respect where you're at with it. Like you're a wife, I'm not. You still you're a mother, I am too, but you still have kids
In
at home.
different
I
seasons.
don't.
Yeah.
And it's this, I think it's just the season in our lives where, you can also get up and go because you are a business owner. So your work allowed you to be virtual, remote, whatever the case may be. That part doesn't hinder you, but it's the part of, oh goodness, I got to put my schedule against my husband's schedule. Who can pick up, who can drop off, who's going to be here if we're not going to be here, who can come and watch the kids, where I'm like, okay, let me know what time, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
I'll
Mhm.
be meeting you at mile marker 52, park my car, hop in your car, and we had to go through that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I love about you and I also think it's because of the professions that we have,
Mhm.
is that when we identify it early, we grab right on it.
Yeah.
And so I think
'Cause
that's
we
why we can
pivot.
come and
We
talk
know how to
about,
pivot.
And I think that's why we could talk about the madness that goes along with March.
Right.
I think it's more crazy as it sounds, Mel. Excuse me. It's more than spring cleaning. Like your
Oh
house,
God, yes. Yes.
we have to spring clean in our business. Like I'm new to the game of all things entrepreneurship. You're not.
Right.
So that has been a challenge for me. But what did you tell me last year, Missy? You got to just push through. I'm like, I was fighting and resisting you with posting. I was fighting and resisting you with Canva. With flyers. I was fighting and resisting going live or just all things that I was not comfortable with. But guess
Mhm.
what? I also had to realize that there's going to be a time where, you know what? Hey, Missy, I'm not available. Can you? And what did I say? Nope, I'm not doing
Yeah.
it. And what I did, it was bare minimum just to pacify you. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think again, it brings us back to March. Like, I'm just a firm believer, and I'm not saying because it's us, but what I love about Mel and Missy, Melanie and Melissa, and Trashed It is that all of those things encompass who we are when it comes to being vulnerable and transparency and having transparency, excuse me. So I don't
Right.
want to keep taking up the time because I think this is one that we can go into because
Oh,
it's that's
absolutely.
just who we are. Like we're
Right.
very transparent. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't know if you will, but I think we
Oh,
trashed it.
I think we did. I absolutely think we did. Um, Madness is okay. Madness doesn't have to produce this negative result. Be willing to pivot. Like when
Mhm.
you see things changing, when you see things shifting,
Mhm.
figure out your pivot,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, we don't have to be overcome with all the newness, all the excitement, but slow it down
Mhm.
as we are. Slow it down. Don't be overtaken by it
Yep.
and figure out like, okay, what are the moves I need to now take
Mhm.
to not just survive but thrive and come out on the other side of this madness even
Mhm.
better.
Absolutely.
So, we've trashed it. Have a good one, guys. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Follow us at We Trashed It on both Facebook and Instagram. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Um, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Are you interested in becoming a sponsor of the show or have topic suggestions you'd like for us to trash? If so, email at wetrashedit@gmail.com.